But anyways, I'm gonna open this up to our icebreaker question. I'm gonna ask each person to introduce yourself. Let us know what you do on Bulbagarden, where people can find you. Um, and you know what? Because it is a Pokemon Presents reaction, I'm gonna throw out a mean one to all the Mareep fans. I said I didn't want to offend anyone. Now I want to see what the reaction is. Um, I'm gonna start with Death. Please introduce yourself and please let us know, who would you rather truck into a trash bin? Flaffy or Bayleaf?
Um, I will throw a million bay leaves away before a single Mareep ever gets hurt. I'm MAGNEDETH, former editor-in-chief Bulbapedia, and these days I'm just kind of around and I manage the Bulbapedia Blue Sky account, as well as doing whatever else I do. And I'm here. You can also find me on Twitch and Blue Sky, both at MAGNEDETH.
Awesome. Fitzy, can you please go next and let us know who you would truck into a trash bin, Flaffy or Bayleaf?
Hi, everyone. I'm Fitzy. I will start off by saying the one that I will chuck into a trash bin is Watchog, and you can't make me choose anything else. No, I'm kidding. Watchog is my least favorite, but between the two that you gave me, I can never side against a starter. I love Bayleaf. I love every single starter. They are all near the top of my list. Nothing against Flaffy, but if it comes down to Flaffy versus Bayleaf, Flaffy's got to go. As I said, I'm Fitzy. I am one of the social media managers here at Bulbagarden. I manage our Facebook and Instagram pages. You can also find me you can find me here anytime Rhodehawk lets me on the Bulbacast, and you can find me in our Discord almost 24/7.
Archaic, would you please go next and let us know who you would chuck into a trash bin, Flaffy or Bayleaf?
Well, I'm Archaic, Bulbagarden Webmaster, resident old trainer yelling at Altaria. You can find me around all of Bulba from time to time. And oh, geez, it's a tough choice, but as much as I'd be tempted to follow Death's example, I think that as an Australian, I have to recognise the dangers of a mutated sheep. And so I think we would have to push Flaffy away. I think that too dangerous to let live must be put down.
And if you were listening in, that's probably the most impromptu laugh that I've had to something Archaic says, so that's awesome. And then Apopheniac, can you please let us know who you are? Who would you chuck, Flaffy or Bayleaf, and let us know where people can find you.
Yeah, I am Apopheniac. I am a junior admin on Bulbapedia. So I spent some time editing that. Uh, Between Bayleaf and Flaffy, I'd probably chuck Bayleaf. I mean, my wife puts bay leaves into curry, but I don't know. I don't know what they're supposed to do. I always have to throw them out. Flappy is pretty neat, I guess. I like the expedition card, the art by Mitsuhiro Arita. That's pretty neat.
And then Caps, I know you're going to be pretty quiet today, but you want to introduce yourself.
Sure thing. Hi guys, it's Caps. I am the multimedia coordinator here at Bulbagarden. I also serve as a forum admin and moderator on the forums in War Room and the arcade and Pokemon video games for now. And I don't have to answer this question. You know what it is.
Awesome. So just for those listening, we're going to be going in a kind of roundtable order today. You may hear people speak in a unique way, but we're actually going to start that off. And Apopheniac, I'd actually like to start this off. I feel like this is going to be one of the easiest questions we will have today. Pokemon Friends, do you think you're actually going to play it, or is this something you're just going to abandon in the Pokemon fandom?
Yeah, I mean, I downloaded it the day it came out, and initially I was like, okay, it's kind of for babies. But then I was like, oh, wait, once you actually start doing it more, it gets harder. And then it's like, once you start messing up, you're like, oh, dang, this is kind of fun. Yeah. I haven't paid for it. I don't know if I'll do that, but yeah, once a day, knock out a few puzzles. Not the worst thing I could do, I suppose.
Archaic, do you have any thoughts on Pokemon Friends?
I mean, I kind of feel like I got a monkey's paw wish here. Like the kind of dribbling out a few puzzles a day is basically the monetization model of Pokemon Picross, which we discussed in the predictions cast. Would have been a cool thing. I don't think it's as engaging as Picross. Like with Picross, I would have gladly paid the fee immediately. Just no questions asked. This, I'm like, is it really engaging enough that I'm going to want to blitz through the puzzles, or am I fine just leaving it as a once a day do a few puzzles and that's it? And so far, that's all I've left it as. I just haven't found it engaging enough to justify.
I actually, just to add to that, I was not expecting much from this, but I will say, just a quick note from me, I do find Pokemon Friends is like a really nice, simple, like amidst all the chaos of the day, a quick, easy puzzle that I can do. I don't plan on dropping money on this game, but Fitzy, what about you? What are your thoughts on Pokemon Friends?
I feel as a Pokemon fan with ADHD that this game was made for me. I am one of those people who, when I'm like suffering from executive dysfunction, I will fire up just a mindless mobile game. I have so many of those like stupid mindless mobile games on my phone, and having one that's Pokemon is, I think, a really nice thing. It's $10. It's not like microtransactions or subscription. You pay $10 if it's worth $10 for you, and you have it. And it's nice to have a Pokemon game to just enjoy to myself. I don't have to worry about missing the new sync pair or falling behind my friends in whatever. It's just a Pokemon game that's for me, for when I don't have the mental energy to play a proper Pokemon game.
I have so much respect for that opinion. I same thing. I gotta kudos that. Death, what about you?
I'm so engaged in Pokemon Friends that I didn't even know it was out. I
Wow.
I watched the presents.
All right.
Did they release it after the presents? I didn't. I must have missed that.
It was
It was
actually
on
available
iOS.
before the presents. They
Oh,
released it early accidentally.
I see. Well, I'll say this much, and this is going to be a running theme when asking me about some of the mobile games. I don't play mobile games at all. I hate almost all of them. This isn't me being old man yells at cloud, although I do that a lot. But maybe it's just the way I live my life. I don't really get a lot of time to play around on my phone. I'm a very active person. And if I'm at home, I'm not going to play a mobile game. I'm going to play a regular game. I don't want to sound like I'm like crapping on friends or mobile games. Because for what it is, when I watched the presents, I was like, oh, okay, this seems kind of interesting. So now that I know it's out, I might go try it.
I mean, it
Now-
is playable on Switch as well, though on Switch you have to pay. The amount you pay is basically as if you were buying the basic bundle on mobile. So I mean, the Switch version essentially naturally has the unlimited puzzles rather than just 3 a day and so on and so forth.
If I buy the Switch version, do I automatically get the mobile version too?
No, it's only one or the other, and save files don't transfer.
I feel like that's something they should work on if possible.
Yeah, what is interesting is that you do have multiple save files on the app. So what I suspect a lot of families who are buying this are doing is getting it on, like, say, iPad with Apple Family Sharing, buy all the DLC, and then everyone in the family can use whichever iOS devices they themselves have with their own save file in the app without having to buy the DLC multiple times or anything like that. But I mean, it's worth noting the company that Nintendo made this, but not Nintendo, Pokemon Company made this in collaboration with, is an educational software company in Japan. So that's the kind of expectation you have to go to this with. It's like, let's be honest, it's not really designed with adult fans in mind. Like people with ADHD, yes, actually, it's quite good for you. But I mean, what it's really designed in mind of are young kids who they want to encourage to learn a bit of critical thinking by doing daily puzzles.
You gotta unravel your mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of game that's like, it's not going to be for every Pokemon fan, but for the people it's targeted at, the little kids, it's absolutely perfect. If I had kids, I would
Let's
have
just
bought
have
this
very
for them the
raveled
instant it was
minds.
announced.
I like games like that. I used to do Sudoku on my lunch break every day, stuff like that. So yeah, I mean,
I will say,
seeing what it was in the presents, I think it looks pretty neat, but unfortunately, I can't give any sort of personal experience on it.
I
I mean,
will
if you were
say,
the kind of person who used to do Dr. Kawashima's brain training every day, you'll love this.
I was actually just gonna say, this makes me think of the old DS brain training games that were on there. Again, not a super complex series of puzzles, but additionally, if you just want to have a simple puzzle to change your thinking from time to time, absolutely check it out. Especially as Fitzy said, also as someone with ADHD, which is probably a shock to no one. This game is a beautiful time to literally reset the mind, and the fact that they have untangled the mind so well, for lack of a better word, or better, woven into the game, I think is absolutely brilliant. That being said, I do want to go to something because I know Archaic probably has thoughts on this at the very least, and I am very excited about it, which is Pokemon Concierge Season 2. I have been waiting for this. Speaking of, like, I think Archaic and I gushed about this on either. Oh my gosh, it was a cast last year. It is an amazing show. Speaking of unraveling the mind, um, but since Death, you went last time. Did you see Pokemon Concierge Season 1, or do you have any interest in this show?
I'll be quick. I did not see season one because I meant to watch it and I just kept forgetting and watching other stuff. So I will say this much: is I heard recently from a reliable source that Concierge is something I really, really, really should see. So it's definitely on my list. And I will also say this: that I'm glad it's getting a season two, even though I haven't seen season one. I know people really like it, and it's so different. That's what I really like that it's different. It's just annoying I didn't get the time to watch it myself, but it's such a fun, unique idea. So I'm actually, even though I haven't seen it, I'm still happy they're making a second season.
I will
Point of
say,
order,
to add
it's
to that really
apparently not
quickly.
the second season. It's part 2 of season 1, as far as
Oh, they're doing
Netflix
that
is treating
thing.
it. Which is kind of weird. But I mean,
What?
given how short the first run was, I mean, it makes sense that they're considering this all part of one season.
A lot of shows are doing that these days. It's kind of annoying, where you'll get like a very distinct, like 8 to 12 episode run, and then you'll get nothing for 6 to 7 months, and then something that comes back and it's not season 2, it's just part 1. It's just part 2 of season 1.
I think
It
that's
is
like
very.
I can understand a
labor
3, maybe even a
thing.
6-month gap, but like more than 6-month gap, it's just like call it a second season at that point.
Yeah, but I think it's like when you have the actors or whatever, if you're paying them for season 2, it's different, which is why they try to do like extended season ones. I don't know.
Ugh.
I don't know.
Really
I
quick.
don't have Netflix. I have HBO. My understanding is this show is like White Lotus, but with Pokemon. Is that right?
A way chiller
No idea what
White
that
Lotus.
show is.
Like it's at a hotel.
Okay.
That's the closest thing to White
That's
Lotus.
giving me White Lotus vibes. Yeah.
From what I know about White Lotus, that might be doing the show a great disservice because I think I've heard like White Lotus is deeply intense from time to time. This show's whole thing um is very much calm, relaxing, no Pokemon battles,
Okay.
rest, relax, have fun. I do want to get back to our order just a little bit so we don't get too thrown off. Fitzy, do you have any thoughts on Pokemon Concierge?
I did. And I did not see the first part or season or what have you. I was in a similar situation to MAGNEDETH where I saw it and I was like, oh, that looks kind of interesting. Maybe I'll sit down and watch it. I gotta say, the trailer that they put out in the presents this week, it it made me want to watch the show a lot more than the original trailer did. Like I actually do really want to sit down and watch it after watching this new trailer. Um, so I'm very happy for the fans of Pokemon Concierge that we're getting more of it. And I think that right off the bat, I feel like they're doing a better job marketing it. Yeah, Caps, what you just put in the chat, the that's her ex. I was like, oh no. Now I need to see what happens.
It's like,
Real
ooh,
drama.
drama.
Right.
I don't want
It was
drama in my concierge. I just want cute, happy, fun times with people relaxing on the beach with Pokemon.
we can have
I'm gonna
both.
pass it. I'm gonna pass it to Archaic just because I can hear like steam somewhat coming out of Archaic's ears. So go ahead.
Like, I, I mean, I'm just excited we've got more concierge. I just hope that they don't muck it up because the trailer seems to imply that this drama with the ex could last multiple episodes or something, and that's not what I want from concierge. I don't need like some kind of extended plot line tying a bunch of episodes together. Like if I wanted that from a heartwarming hotel series, I'd go watch Apocalypse Hotel. But with Pokemon Concierge, I just want calming, relaxing Pokemon antics. And I just hope they haven't mucked up the concierge formula with what they're doing there.
So
I
Hopefully,
will
Archaic
it's
say
is tied up from the trailer.
hopefully it's just a one episode thing, or maybe it's the final episode of the arc that gives them an excuse to make sure that there will be a proper second season. Like that's okay. But if it's the whole arc, I will be a bit disappointed.
I will say Archaic. I got very much from the trailer like a coming to peace with past pain from it, especially the focus on the older gentleman and like the Celio and them being so prevalent. And I got like a very much like let go of the pain and say goodbye kind of vibe. And I feel like that might be the narrative they're going for by giving the main character like that reconciliation with her ex. Just to add that.
Perhaps. I mean, we'll have to wait and see.
Also, shout out to Celio getting the spotlight.
Yeah, I was going to
Absolutely.
say if I could just point out, I don't know if they were big in the first part. As I said, I didn't see it, but as someone who deals with our social media followers, especially when we put out our monthly top and bottom, like most popular Pokemon, I really liked seeing Celio and the three elemental monkeys featured so prominently in the trailer, because I feel like the elemental monkeys, I think we all know what the fandom at large thinks of them. And I feel like Celio gets lost between Walrein and Sfeel a lot. And so I really like this like low impact show uh, being a way to showcase Pokemon that don't get seen a lot in more competitive media.
Just really quickly before I go to Apopheniac, that's kind of a big part of the heart of the show. I know Psyduck got a ton of love in some really unique ways. They had a really great spotlight of a lot of different Pokemon, not traditionally loved. I will say, check out the show. It is well worth it. I would argue substantially better in the Japanese sub, but that is just because the voice acting and the tones hit a little differently. But I'm going to go to Apopheniac because Apopheniac has been waiting so patiently. Do you have any thoughts on Pokemon Concierge Part 2?
I have HBO. I don't have Netflix.
That is right. I completely forgot. All right. Really quickly, moving into that. Speaking of another animation style, someone who loves this kind of opened up the great Fluffy debate earlier today. Surfetched and Pichu, a new show by Aardman Films. If this is not something that you have, or Aardman Studio, I can't remember. If this is something you don't have a ton of thoughts on, no worries. But Apopheniac, do you have any thoughts on this rather unique show?
Not really my thing. I don't know. My
No
wife is an
worries.
Anglophile. Maybe she'd like it, but I'm good.
All right, Archaic, I'm going to pass it over to you.
I mean, I've loved Wallace and Gromit since the 90s. So, seeing some Pokemon stuff from Aardman Animation is amazing. I mean, I've been joking that if not for them going with Wooloo, we could have had a riff on Shaun the Mareep. But, I mean, I can't remember who said it, but yeah, it makes sense that Aardman would set things in Galar. There was no chance that wasn't going to happen. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm just wondering what kind of tack they're going to take with this. Like, is this going to be more of a Shaun the Sheep style Aardman thing, or is it going to be more of a Wallace and Gromit? I'd probably prefer more of the Wallace and Gromit. I suspect it's going to be more of the Shaun the Sheep. But, well, we'll see.
Fitzy, what are your thoughts on this?
I am so excited for this. This is, as I said before we went on the air, this is one of the two things I was most excited about. Just like Archaic, I grew up with Wallace and Gromit in the 90s. I'm not familiar with Shaun the Sheep. I have to look it up now. But the, the absurd comedy of errors that Aardman is known for is just so good, and it's so timeless. And I'm really excited to see them take on Pokemon, and I think it will provide a unique voice to the universe of Pokemon. And I think it will be, if their past work is any indication, it will be, all of us here on the cast, we're all elder Pokemon fans. We're all adults, um, and I think that this will end up being one of those Pokemon things that you could enjoy with your kids. Like Aardman has a very universal appeal in my experience, and I am really excited for it.
I was actually thinking as Archaic and you, Fitzy, were speaking, and one of the things that I just looked up was it is the misadventures of Sirfetch'd and Pichu. And I was wondering if they had Shaun the Sheep reference intentionally with the Wooloo with Sirfetch'd and Pichu having chaos in the background just to catch in those Shaun the Sheep fans. But I was also thinking this would be a really cool way to have a knight and squire kind of relationship, and I would be really excited to see that, especially because I feel like although he was featured prominently in the anime, Sirfetch'd just doesn't seem like to me a Pokemon that gets a ton of love. I could be completely oblivious. But at the same time, it would be really cool to see that kind of story set in Galar. I could keep going, but Death, I want to go to you really quickly and ask, what are your thoughts on not Shaun the Sheep? Oh my gosh, my brain is programmed. Sirfetch'd and Pichu. Oh my gosh.
I respect Wallace and Gromit and Aardman. That said, I've never been like a huge fan of them, so I don't have a lot to say. But it seems like a fun concept. I'm curious what they can do about it. My biggest, there's two big things I want to say. The first is that I am also glad it's set in Galar because we're not going to talk about this today, but I'm definitely of the people that was not a fan of Sword and Shield, and I feel like Galar got kind of a bad rep for that. It's not Galar's fault, but that's another topic. The main thing I want to say is, why is it Pichu? Why is it Pichu? That doesn't make any sense to me. It's like you want an electric type. Morpeko is from Galar. Or how about Toxel? That's a little baby. If Pichu is supposed to be a baby, use Toxel. Like, why is it Pichu? Pichu has no business. But of course, I'm also I don't like Pichu like at all. So maybe I'm just biased. So yeah,
It's because Pikachu's the mascot.
Yeah, but so they got so many other Pokemon.
My guess is it's because Pikachu's the mascot and Pichu is a little kid, and they wanted a little kid.
I mean, I know that's almost certainly the reason, but like, come on, I don't know. Pikachu
I will
sucks, that's all I'm
also
gonna say.
tiny a little electric mouse that is not good at using its own electricity, paired with very serious mature knight like Pokemon, feels very Aardman films, and I could definitely see them pulling from the influence of like Wallace and Gromit, with Wallace being the more put together one and solving a lot of the problems, and Gromit being not Wallace. Gromit being the one who's put together, and Wallace being like the inventor of sorts, who constantly messes stuff up. I could see that to a degree, especially with a Pichu who cannot use its own electricity. Oh my gosh, I want to keep talking about this.
I'll say one more thing there. Like, while I personally am thoroughly sick of the Pikachu line and of them continuing to use it as a mascot, looking at Bulbapedia's most visited Pokemon articles for the first half of this year, Pikachu was number 4. So I can understand why they're sticking with it as the mascot and continuing to stick it and Pichu in so many things, because apparently it is still incredibly popular, despite that some old farts like me are tired of it. But then, I mean, I'm also tired of Charizard and it's number 6. So, unless they're going to switch to Eevee, which would make a lot of sense given it is number 1, we're going to see the Pikachu line a lot more. Or rather, continuing to see it a lot.
Just super
I know
quick.
we're going to be... Oh, go ahead.
You mentioned, Archaic, the older fans such as us being tired of Pikachu. You mentioned Charizard real quick. I've actually kind of circled back because it's super overused, but at its core, Charizard's a good guy. He's just people just like the poor guy. He just can't catch a break. That's all.
Really quickly, for the sake of time, I know this could erupt into a big conversation. I want to keep moving us forward. And I know we're going to be checking in with the audience soon here, and I think this is a great question to also pose to our audience. So we got the reveal of Kanto Park. I might be saying the name wrong again.
Pokemon
which
Kanto.
Pokepark thing, Kanto. Thank you. I'll be honest. I saw like thousands of comments about the Pokemon Company, like with their comments of making Pokemon more lifelike than ever before, breeding Pokemon Jurassic Park style. So that probably had a bit of an influence on this. But this is kind of a big deal, kind of a very influential aspect of this, and I believe we ended with death last time. That's right, right? Just now?
I mean, no, you ended with Archaic. I just kind of jumped in about Charizard.
Okay. So I'm gonna go back to Apopheniac just for my own lovely ADHD brain. Do you have any thoughts on Pokepark Kanto?
Yeah, that seems kind of interesting. Definitely sort of paralleling what Nintendo is doing, where it's like Nintendo's got Shigeru Miyamoto, he's their chief creative fellow or whatever his role is, and he's like, yeah, whatever, I'm just gonna make theme parks. And now we're seeing Junichi Masuda at the Pokemon Company kind of doing something similar. I don't know if I would go just because it's far, but I don't know. It's named Poke Park Kanto, so that does kind of imply that they'll bring it to the concept at least to other places. Um, but yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like Pokemon as a brand is sort of pushing more different ways to do multimedia. Again, not unlike Nintendo.
Awesome. Archaic, what are your thoughts on Pokepark Kanto?
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the true Poke Park was the one in Nagoya in 2005, which I had the limited edition DS from. It's I'm amazed it's taken them 20 years, more than 20 years, to go from that temporary theme park to actually having like a permanent one somewhere. And I'm a little surprised it ended up being where it is. Like that they didn't put it in with like the Nintendo stuff at Universal Studios. They are just at like a regional amusement park, and I mean they're taking what, roughly 50% of its space, something ridiculous like that. So if they're going with this model, like I would expect to see more of them popping up around Japan and potentially like in the US. What's your theme park chain that you've got there? Something like Six Flags, something like that.
Yeah, Six
Like,
Flags.
yeah, this is basically the equivalent of a Pokemon section opening up at a Six Flags. What's happening here? So countries that have that sort of model, that have a, a chain of nationwide theme parks that could maybe slot in a Pokemon stuff, I'd say a few of these companies are now thinking about if they can get this at their theme park, if it ends up being a success in Japan. Will it? I don't know. There's a lot of people were speculating about what it could have, but the trailer seemed to be like, oh, it's a walk through a wooded area with a bunch of Pokemon statues, not animatronics, statues. And like I'm just a little concerned this is not going to be very interactive at all. Or that the kind of interactivity here is basically going to be Pokemon Go, but not Pokemon Go because we couldn't use that game and we're doing some proprietary, silly little thing that's only for the park. And I don't know. I suspect there's not going to be very much here. I mean, am I going to go to it the next time I go to Japan? Yes. But I'm not expecting it to be like a super amazing time of my life thing. I mean, again, this seems like it's not something really aimed at theme park goers in general, but rather little kids. So again, great family day out. But if you were an individual fan going on your own, and there's no little kids in your party, you could probably skip it.
Fitzy, what about you?
I am confused about the reactions I've heard so far. I thought that looked so cool. And I was a little confused by the statues in the video. But hopefully that's just because the park is not ready to be opened and they didn't want to show, works in progress. It's funny that Archaic brought up Universal Studios because I remember when I was about 16 years old, I went to the Universal Studios in Florida, and they have an entire section that is Jurassic Park themed, or they did at least back then. And
They
you
still do.
go into it, yeah, oh, good. But you go into that park knowing that they're all animatronics. They're robotic skeletons with some fake flesh on top. But then when you get into the park, it's like, oh my God, that's a Triceratops. And I think that if Pokemon puts the work into this park, it could be something truly amazing. It really could. Because Pokemon in our world is something people have wanted since 1996, man. It it could end up being a massive disappointment. And if it is, I will be so upset. But it could be so much. And I am so excited to see what they do. And I really hope that they meet expectations. Because if they do, that that part could blow up. So I'm trying to stay optimistic and hopeful about it, is where I'm at.
So what you want to have a look into is Pokemon Wonder. So this is something that was done in Yomiuri Land in Inagi back in 2021, closed in 2024. So that I have a strong suspicion that what they did with Pokemon Wonder is going to be what we see in Pokepark Kanto's Pokemon Forest. That basically Pokemon Wonder was an initial test setup, and this is basically a permanent setup of that thing. So, like, it would be essentially almost like a scavenger hunt of Pokemon, but like all the Pokemon you find are going to be like static. They are not going to be animatronic at all.
We'll see what happens. We got a year.
Really quickly, Death. I want to get your thoughts on this.
There's not a lot that I was going to say that hasn't already been said. It's kind of my biggest thing was piggybacking off of what Archaic said is it is about time that any theme park really went in on Pokemon other than that pop up they did back in 05. And to kind of agree with what he said is it could be something very just basic and interactive, but honestly, my big hope is that speaking of Universal, which Fitzy mentioned, is I went to Universal about 3 or 4 years ago, and they have there's an entire section of that park that makes it feel like you're in Springfield from The Simpsons. It's awesome. I want that. I want to go somewhere where it feels like I'm in, a town from the Pokemon universe. I understand that we're not going to have, literal actual Pokemon running around, And if there's some basic animatronics, that's fine. But there's so much atmosphere the Pokemon games have. I'm sorry, games, anime, anything there's so much atmosphere they can work off of. So that's what I want them to lean on the most. And given what we've seen in the previews, it's hard to say. They showed off some buildings, which is great, but you know, I want the atmosphere. That's what I want out of it. And hey, if it succeeds, you know, let's go around the country. I'm sorry, around the world. Here in America, as Archaic mentioned, we have Six Flags theme parks. They have Looney Tunes is one of their big things. So, you know, it's the precedent is there, and it's kind of crazy it took them this long to actually do it. But you know, if they're gonna do it, I want them to do it right. That's really my only, you know, thing. Is just I just want them to, you know, give me something to really, you know, give me something tangible, not just a bunch of, you know, animatronics I look at or scan with my phone. That's really all.
And right before we go to our audience, because I want to make sure to get comments and thoughts in. So what I'm seeing here and my quick little Google search is, so apparently it's going to be 500 meters long, a 500-meter long Pokemon forest filled with grassy trails, tunnels, and more, featuring Pokemon. And the goal is to have a Pokemon Center, a shop, a gym, and more for attendees to utilize. So even if this is just for kids, I'm going to be honest, having something like this that I could experience and see, that's going to be amazing. I could gush on this, but we've had so many great insights and inputs, and I want to jump to our audience, who I'm sure are providing the same. Caps, what are we seeing?
So, no questions from the audience for the panel, but I did want to highlight a couple of comments. There's been quite a lot of chatter on all of the different topics that we talked about so far. But I think that there are a couple of comments that were particularly interesting. Swifty says Pichu as a squire would be fun, because how would Sirfetch'd teach it how to use its electricity? Which is an interesting thing to think about,
Great point.
given that Sirfetch'd is not an electric type. Go ahead, Death.
No, just a great point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then also, Machop fan says, imagine if we had humanoid Pokemon with the iconic Aardman face. Like, I'm assuming you're talking about like stuff like Machop or Gardevoir or I don't know, Golurk is kind of humanoid. Like stuff like that would be really funny. And then there's also been some chatter about Charizard for some reason. Don't know why, but hey, whatever. And there's also
Came up.
Sorry?
He came up in the conversation, that's why.
Oh, there you go. Swifty also says earlier regarding the Pokepark Kanto, specifically, I would love to see in Alola or Unova park, and I think it would be awesome, personally, if they recreated like the Nimbasa city, like Ferris wheel and the gym with the roller coaster. I think that would be really cool. Like that alongside maybe a more quaint town in Unova would be pretty cool. But yeah, I can definitely see them expanding to different regions with different themes if this park succeeds. Yeah, that's really it. Chat, if you guys have any questions, please do, like, for the panel. I will prioritize the ones that are related to presents reactions, but honestly, if you have anything you want to ask our panel, ping me in a chat message and I will note it down and get a list of like an ordered list of them to ask to our.
I just had a realization based on one of the comments that Caps relayed to us from Machop fan. If Aardman goes the chicken run route, there is a non-zero chance that Sirfetch'd is going to have teeth in its beak.
I
might be
hated
upsetting.
every second of that.
That will be cursed. Please no. I mean, it'll be memes forever for our social media, but please no.
Even as someone on the social media team, please no.
I would know regarding Pokepark. I would remark on Pokepark Kanto. Yeah, it's probably named for the real Kanto region in Japan where it's located.
I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, possibility. Really quickly, because this is going to take up a huge chunk of the limited time we have left. For those, unless Caps, we have anything else we should highlight?
Just the last comment from Aldebar that says, Universal's new theme park does have the dragons from How to Train Your Dragon walking around with robotic technology. They could potentially get some quadrupedal Pokemon going if they utilize something similar. I also know, and I responded as much, that I think that Disney is debuting something similar for some of the Star Wars droids. So, I mean, this sort of technology definitely exists. It would be pretty cool to see. I'm trying to think of like I don't know, Rattata running around stealing your pizza or something of the like. But yeah, it would be really cool if they were able to implement something like that. Also, that was from, I realized I mispronounced your name, Albadabar. Thank you.
It's Albadabar.
Albadabar, excuse me.
But to kind of piggyback on that is if they have to, I don't know how these robotics work. If they have to be kind of slow, there's plenty of large quadrupedal. Oh, quiet, Alba. There are these large quadrupedal Pokemon that could totally work with this. And my first thought was Torterra. If they have to be slow, because it'd be awesome to see a Torterra walk around, a giant tree walking down the street. So even if they have to be, big, slow Pokemon, man, there's just so many options there to work with.
I mean, Venusaur seems the most natural option for a Pokepark Kanto.
My first thought was Avalugg, but I love ice types.
For the sake of time, I am going to move us forward, especially because there are tying conflicts. But I am going to get into the heart of a lot of what was revealed, which was Legend ZA. Now, there is a ton here. We're obviously not going to be able to get into all of it because it's just impossible. So many amazing thoughts. And so, as we go, my intro question, and I am losing track right now, but Death, you were the last person to answer the last main question, right?
Maybe.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm gonna go with you anyways. So with everything that was revealed with Legend ZA, what was your good, the bad, and the ugly? What do you think was represented well? What do you think was represented bad? And what do you wish wasn't there?
The good is definitely we're seeing the city looks alive. So that should be really cool to also shout out another shiny for Caps. The city looks alive, and that's really good. I want to have that feeling of you're walking around with all these people and Pokemon. And I also really like how they brought back some classic being a relative term, some characters we haven't seen in a while. Including Mabel. Nobody remembers who Mabel was, and here she comes back with a fantastic.
Excuse you.
I'm just speaking the truth. I'm just speaking the truth, man. But hey, she's coming back with a fantastic new design. So, and Emma, we all like Emma, so it's great to see that, and I really can't wait to see more of the characters they brought back. The bad, more megas. I'm gonna be honest, the game still doesn't look super amazing. Now, I am not a graphics person, to be clear. I don't really care about super fancy graphics. So the fact that it doesn't look amazing doesn't really bother me too much. I would rather have more stuff happening than super amazing textures and stuff like that. But I guess I could say the ugly per se would be the potential that game is probably going to run like crap on an original Switch. And that is really annoying because I don't have a Switch 2. Some of us still don't, and we're not going to have one for a while. So we might still be playing a game that is almost certainly going to be optimized for Switch 2. And I'm not even saying they shouldn't do that. That is the next generation console they want to push, and that's great. but if they're going to release it on Switch 1, we're probably not going to have the best experience. As for my comment about Megas, we can come back to that later because I know we're going to.
Absolutely. How about you, Fitzy?
I don't know if I can do a good, the bad, and the ugly. I can do a good, the good, and the good. I did not see a single thing in that trailer that made me reticent for this game. It is no surprise to anyone who knows me. I love Kalos. I love X and Y. I love Lumiose City. It's the biggest city that's ever been in a Pokemon game, just in terms of like in-game square footage. Like not real square footage, but in the game, the amount that you can cover. It's so big, even in X and Y. And so I think it's the perfect city if we're only going to have one city to explore. I was so excited to see the new Mega, which we're going to get to in Megas. Overall, I was excited to see some Pokemon that I was sure were going to be in this game, but hadn't officially been announced yet. Um, and the fashion. I mean, that was such a big thing when XY came out. For those who remember when XY first came out, the trainer customization, upping your style so you could get into different parts of Lumio City. I'm wondering if that's going to make a comeback, your style meter. But just, oh my God, all the fashion that they showed in that trailer. I want to buy all of those outfits. I'm going to have no money for Pokeballs because I'm going to buy all of the clothing in that game. It all looks so good. So yeah, I could sit here and gush until we run out of time. So I'll leave it there. One last thing, I I was really excited to see Mabel. I love the Team Flare scientists, and my very first thought when I saw her was, are the other scientists going to be there? That's where I'm at.
Archaic, what about you?
Yeah, I'll agree with Fitzy on that one. I absolutely want to see how this game links into the story threads left over from Pokemon X and Y, and how these returning characters are treated. I mean, like I'm one of those weirdos who plays Pokemon games for the plot, and the Legends games have just had so much more plot. And actually getting this kind of plot development for, I mean, Hisui was an existing region, but it wasn't directly tied into anything because it was a prequel rather than a sequel. This being effectively a sequel story-wise has so much more opportunity for plot development, and it looks like they're actually going to give it to us. So yeah, like, I mean, like Death said, sure, the textures might not be the greatest in every area, but I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this is a Switch 1 game that's just going to perform better on Switch 2. I'm not expecting it to be some 4K masterpiece. If it looks as good as Legends Arceus did and performs a bit better than that, and much better on the Switch 2, I will be more than happy on the technical side. And as far as story goes, it looks like this is going to satisfy my wildest dreams. So, fingers crossed that the battle royale is not going to be an incredible slog going from Z to A, but story-wise, it's all looking very interesting. Oh, and as a side note, I don't think I'm the only one wondering if there's a connection between this poison type trainer. What was his name again? I know it starts with C, but between that guy and Kieran, a lot of people are noticing some visual similarities between the two, and like, I don't know, absentee father. It could be interesting, but I don't know. Maybe we're just
Are you talking about the leader of Team Rust?
yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Really
what is
quick,
his name again? I put it down here somewhere.
Can look it up here in a second. Well, Apopheniac's going. Apopheniac, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, going off what Archaic was talking about, I do think once we get like a game where you don't necessarily have to go around collect all the badges, right? You're just sitting there in the city, um, and it opens up a lot of possibilities for what they could do with the story. I mean, they've shown quite a few characters as is, and I think that is something that's going to be interesting. Like, you look at the area where they show Corbeau in, and it's like even though he's a poison type guy, it's like they put him in, an area where there's like the Steelix wallpaper, and then there's like a King Gambit statue. I don't know if it's like maybe he took over like an existing Steel type group, and he's like eroding it or corrupting it. It seems like something that's kind of neat. I mean, we didn't see a ton of like gameplay stuff in this trailer. I mean, you know, what I've seen so far, it seems like it could be pretty decent, but ultimately it's going to come down to execution, especially how you balance like the action and the RPG elements of that. Um, so I'm right now, I guess I'd say I'm cautiously optimistic. I think they can. I think they've had some time to cook. They can do some good stuff with it, uh, but we'll just have to see.
And I do really quick want to make a correction to myself. So it is not Team Rust. It is the Rust Syndicate, which personally I love that name so much more than Rust. Team Rust that was a great choice. Really diving into this though, because we have time limits. We have so many awesome thoughts, so many awesome guests. I want to jump into something that's going to probably rile up our audience a little bit more, but in general, and we'll throw in Mega Dragonite here as well. I know there's been a lot of discussion on Mega Dragonite. I know people are excited potentially for Dragonite. I personally like the nod to Hermes to a degree, and kind of the whole vibe of good boy Dragonite being gooder boy Dragonite. But Apopheniac, do you have any thoughts on the return of Mega Evolution or just on Mega Dragonite?
I mean, I think in terms of Mega Evolution, I think I don't know, a lot of people were kind of expecting, you make a game where you go back to Kalos, yeah, you got to do more Mega Evolutions. Um, in terms of Mega Dragonite, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think is like if you're gonna be a Dragonite, I think you do kind of have to be comfortable with the fact that you're now that you're not a Dragonair anymore. You're a little chunkier. You got a dad bod or a mom bod, as the case may be. So I think seeing Dragonite trying to adorn itself with the accoutrements of its adolescent form, I think kind of gives sort of like the impression of like when you get like this old middle-aged dude who's like trying to fit into his Letterman jacket from high school. It's, just let it go, man. Life has gone on, and you got to be comfortable with who you are now. We can't dwell on the past.
I don't think I must have missed it, but I had never thought of Dragonite as middle aged, but now I kind of can't unsee it. Archaic, what are your thoughts?
I mean, the Dragonite line always felt a bit weird. Like going from Dragonair to Dragonite, like it always seemed to be some kind of a disconnect there. So having that kind of be acknowledged in the design of the Mega seems somewhat appropriate. I do actually kind of wish we'd seen more Megas in the trailer, but I guess they're holding it back to have that be a bit more of a surprise when they come out, which is fine. I mean, I will say briefly on the Rust Syndicate. It did seem a bit weird that, like, okay, so your arena has all this like theming around steel type Pokemon, and the name suggestive of. I guess you could maybe say that, like, rust, corrosion, so poison or steel/poison, but this guy's only got poison Pokemon, so where's the steel side of things coming in? Because none of the arena itself, like none of the pictures on the walls or anything showed any poison type Pokemon that I saw. So I'm wondering just how this comes into things. And I'm wondering, like, are they showing us here the equivalent of the first gym leader? Or are they showing us here an organization that is going to turn up multiple times? And I'm trying to remember, like, when they first showed us Scarlet and Violet, and I'm pretty sure they just showed us, like, we saw in the like the press releases and the shots that were sent out, like basically character shots of gym leaders. So I'm not convinced yet if this guy is actually going to be a recurring villain or something. I mean, it sounds like we're going to fight him in a promotion match. And if that's the case, we've got more than 20 of those, given we're going from Z to A. So is this guy actually going to be significant, or is it just significant merely because he's the first one we fight to go from Z to Y or something?
I hadn't thought of that. That's I like. I mean, those are some great questions. But really quickly, Fitzy, what are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
I was really pumped to see Mega Dragonite. Let me give a quick shout out to Apopheniac for having the silliest reaction to Mega Dragonite that I have heard yet. Um, the middle-aged man trying to hold on to his youth. But when the Megas first came out, the Pokemon chosen for Megas, it was usually one of two categories. It was a Pokemon that had suffered from power creep and needed a boost, or it was a very popular Pokemon that people were going to want to use. And I think Dragonite fits into both of those. Dragonite was the first pseudo legendary, and for a lot of people, he doesn't quite measure up to the pseudo legendaries we've had since him. Um, and he's also really popular. A lot of people were super happy when Ash got one in his final season as a Pokemon trainer. So I think we're going to have other megas for sure, and I think that Mega Dragonite was the best possible option of a new mega to show. He is an old, popular Pokemon that could use a bit of a boost in power, and I like his design. It's a little goofy. It's a little goofy without seeming weak, which is what Dragonite has always been. He's a bit of a goofball who can kick your butt.
So, just really quickly, Fitzy, because you are so passionate about this, do you think with his design, giving him dragon fairy typing would be that boost in power that he needs?
I don't think anything needs to be Dragon Fairy typing. I think giving a dragon the type that was put into the games to beat dragons would be a mistake. And dragon flying, he's still dragon flying. He's got even bigger wings now.
Death, can you please share your thoughts?
Megas suck, and I don't want to see any more of them because they were a terrible idea and they implemented them really badly. And I'm not going to go off on a big tangent here. The long and short of it is that I actually do like Mega Dragonite's design, but I feel like it's more like the design regular Dragonite should have, as it has a better, closer connection to Dragonair. But, that's just the way it is. Time moves on and we got to do what we do. I feel like the design of Mega Dragonite is almost like them trying to, I don't want to say fix the mistake of Dragonite, because I don't want to call a Dragonite a mistake. I still think Dragonite is a good design, and there's plenty in Japanese lore. There's plenty of examples of creatures changing into things that are not like what they were, which is exactly what Magikarp and Gyarados are based on. So, I like the design of Mega Dragonite, excuse me. And I do also agree it was definitely the perfect choice for them to show off in the trailer. Are we going to get more? Almost certainly, definitely, easily. Am I going to care? Honestly, probably not. But I will say this much is I really don't want them to heavily emphasize the story and gameplay around Megas. And that is one of my biggest concerns with ZA, one of my absolute number one top biggest concerns, because I know a lot of people like Megas, and I know I'm in the minority of people who don't. But the problem is that if you focus the entire story on Megas, it's the same problem that kind of X and Y had, where you're doing your thing and suddenly it's like, oh, by the way, stop, we got to talk about Megas. And I'm like, I don't care about Megas. We got some guy trying to destroy the world. So if they want to have a fun story, I just don't want it to be all about Megas. If they want to have that as a fun, battle gimmick that they want to put some spotlight on, great, fine, no problem. I don't have to engage with it. I played the entirety of Sword and Shield without Gigantamax. I played the entirety of Scarlet and Violet without Terrestrialization. And you know what? I played X and Y without Megas. So I'm just going to keep playing my way. But as I said, the last thing, before I keep talking, I'm not going to, but I'm just going to say it again, is I don't want them to focus the story on Megas. They're going to be there. That's fine. I'm not going to interact with them as best I can. I don't want them to focus the story on that. I think it's going to be a bad idea.
I think we'll know if they're trying to shove Megas down our throats if they decide to create a Mega Charizard Z.
True.
Rode, can I jump
Also,
in here
just
real quick to respond to Death?
I was actually going to pass it right over to you.
Sweet, thank you. Death, I don't want to rebut you. Actually, I kind of want to agree with you. I think that having the story centered around Megas would be essentially a retread of X and Y, because that's pretty much exactly the same thing that X and Y did, is have a story centered around Megas, and also a death weapon for some reason. But I will also say that we have learned in the new trailer that they will be centering the story around Megas, because of the whole thing about rampaging wild Mega Pokemon that are Mega evolving when they shouldn't be, without a keystone and all that. So that's that. Yeah, that's how I feel about that.
That doesn't strike me as concerning. You would think it would. I'm not ready to fold on that yet. And all I'm gonna say is that to me seems not a lot different than what were the big Pokemon called in Scarlet and Violet you had to defeat? There was a
Terrorwraiths?
Not totems.
nah, like totems. No, not totems.
Oh,
like the
not
cloth
totems.
was one of them.
The Titans.
Titans,
yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
I think if they have something like that where you go and have like a big fight,
They do. The Alphas are back. Alphas from
yes.
Legend ZA are back.
Yes, somebody actually put. I'm sorry, I can't. I'm not. Somebody mentioned it in the chat, and I'm sorry, I don't know who it was, but they mentioned, hey, did anybody see the red eyes? I definitely did. I love the alphas, and I'm glad they're coming back. I want them to do more with alphas because they didn't really. They were just giant Pokemon, which was cool. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I want them to do more with that. So hey, let's have like an alpha versus mega, evolution something. I don't know. The what I'm trying to get at is. Just want to finish
what
up.
we're having is that those rogue mega evolution things are basically alpha mega evolutions.
Yeah, and that could be really cool. If you want to have something like, all right, get your team and you got to go defeat this giant Pokemon, that's fine. My crux is I just don't want every battle, even like the minor battles, to be about like, all right, you got to Mega Evolve, and it's gonna happen. I know it's exactly what's gonna happen. That's what I was trying to get at. So maybe I didn't explain it properly, but that's my issue.
Really quickly, I want to give time to any other thoughts on this, but I completely messed up. I missed a request and I missed a note on this. Death, I want to kind of ask you to really quickly summarize your thoughts on Lumia City, but also how you think these rogue megas or alpha Pokemon will work well within the space. And then we'll go to Fitzy to jump in and give some alternative opinions.
Yeah, I can actually explain this pretty quick. I am still concerned that Lumio City is not going to be enough variety in the setting. Lumio City is a really cool place. They couldn't really do a whole lot with it on the 3DS. So I'm really kind of curious what they can do in a full 3D setting. The problem is that Lumio City is still a city in a temperate location. So where's the variety? Where are we going to get our fire types and our ice types? But I've complained about this before, so I'm not going to go up on it again. But yeah, I'm still concerned that Lumio City is not going to be enough of a setting, but we'll just have to wait and see. And as for the megas ramparting, this is actually where Lumio City could work to its advantage, because what's better than a giant creature running through a city? I mean, we've got, the Godzilla franchise been around doing that since, 1950s or whatever. So I think having a giant mega storm through a Lumios could be very cool. So yeah, kind of generally mixed opinions on that. That's I'll have to wait and see, unfortunately.
Fitzy, I want to give you your time. We do have 6 minutes before we need to check in with the audience once again. But Fitzy, please jump in, share the thoughts you want to share on Lumios being a setting, but also the megas and all those wonderful ideas you have.
Yeah, I will do my best to be quick. I think I mostly touched on my thoughts on Lumios as a setting when we started. Lumios is a massive city. There's a whole there was a whole tease subplot in the first trailer for ZA about like a reclamation council or something. I think that they're going to come up with a way that is satisfying that will allow us to catch all the Pokemon that we want. As for the megas, I did want to correct one misconception that I did see Storm also said in the chat. Pokemon X and Y, there was not a big focus on megas in the storyline. It was the focus of one city, the city where you get the Lucario as a gift. But other than that, like you're one of a very few number of trainers in X and Y who can use megas. That was a big deal. Your rival didn't even get a Mega Stone until after the game. No one in the Elite Four Mega evolves. The problem I always had with megas, I have always said I'm not a fan of Mega Evolution. The reason I'm not a fan of Mega Evolution is because Mega Evolutions are unfair in competitive play. If you don't pick one of 24 Pokemon, you are at a severe disadvantage in a Mega Evolution battle. I think a single player, assuming that ZA is going to be like Legends Arceus was and is fully single player except for trading, I think that is the ideal situation for Mega Evolution. You're not punished for not using a mega if you don't want to use one. Although I think we're going to have to use one because I remember the trailer saying fight mega with mega, which sounded to me like how you have to terrestrialize in order to beat Raid in Scarlet and Violet. You might have to mega for those rampaging megas. But for the trainer battles, if you don't want to mega, don't mega. Just fight normal. And you're not going to be punished for that. And there are no other real life trainers that you're fighting where you're at a disadvantage because you chose not to mega. I think this is a perfect game to bring megas back because there is no downside to using them or not using them.
All right, Archaic, please jump over with your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the dislike of megas from a competitive standpoint, but I also am just not involved in the competitive side of VGC. From a single player standpoint, I mean, on the one hand, you might be forced to use a mega. On the other hand, so long as all the popular Pokemon have a mega, then there's probably going to be at least one mega everyone likes enough to include in their party anyway. And I mean, heck, we're getting a routes with Gardevoir right as a early purchase bonus, so that's going to be an easy one for a lot of people. I mean, so yeah, bringing Megas back in this way is probably the best way they can do it. They're obviously going to be integrated into the story to some extent, given we've got the rogue Mega Evolutions. Will we be forced to use it ourselves? I don't know. Though it seems likely that we will be encouraged to. I mean, I guess the issue is, like, we want it to feel like more than a gimmick. We want it to have some sort of deeper meaning. And if it's just there because it's flashy and because they happen to be in Kalos and that was the gimmick they had in that era, then it's kind of a bit boring.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Apopheniac, any thoughts on Lumios being the core setting, Mega any evolutions, anything you have not shared yet?
I don't know. I think it's fine to have Lumio City as kind of your main thing and not go anywhere else. I mean, I know typically Pokemon games are, you gotta go everywhere. You gotta find all the Pokemon in different places. But they don't have to do it like that. Lumio City's fine. It's big. I mean, it's definitely a different style than different other games, but I think Game Freak can make it work if they're choosing to make it work. If it's like you got to go to the industrial freezer to find your ice types, then you go to the industrial freezer. If you got to go to I don't know, like the geothermal heat plant or something to get your fire types, and that's where you'll go. I don't think that'll be much of an issue. As for Mega Evolutions, I mean, I think kind of part of the issue with them is Pokemon is a game where they're like, oh, everyone's got to use their favorites. They're your bestest friends. And then it's like, well, okay, but like these are, all Pokemon are equal, but some of them are more equal than others, right? These are your fancy lads. They get to have the special stones. And that kind of punishes you because it's like, well, I don't have one of the fancy lads. So I guess everyone else is just gonna, beat me with their fancy lad. And then it's like, well, okay. But even if you have a fancy lad, it's well, okay. But you have to weigh that against because there's an opportunity cost in the sense of you only get one, which means you kind of have to weigh every single possible mega evolution against another one because you can't use all of them. Like yeah, Mega Beedrill. I'm sure this is great for Beedrill fans, but come on, if you're picking, I mean, at the end of the day, they're all like plus 100 net BFP. Is it really worth it to pick Mega Glalie or something versus Mega Metagross or whatever? And probably not. But in the context of different game, different style of gameplay, probably no PvP, then I think it's fine. Better question is, do they keep Megas going forward into like Gen 10? I mean, that's going to be tough. I have no idea. Because yeah, ZA is not a game where you can do like the classic turn-based battles. So it might be that they bring them forward, or it might be that they say, yeah, if you want to use Mega Dragonite and take turns with it, you're gonna have to do that in Champion. Who knows?
Really quickly, I know we have to check in to our audience. I do really quickly want to say, so I know this was mentioned a couple different times, but with the urban revitalization, it is my hope that, and I don't want to create a whole other conversation. Maybe someone in the chat also has thoughts on this. But with the urban revitalization, it is my hope that we get to do one thing that we did not get to do in Pokemon Legends Arceus, which is actually help to develop the town and help to establish new buildings and things. That was something I thought would have made Legends Arceus even more immersive. But Caps, I know we've got people. I know we have limited time left. I want to make sure we highlight the audience one last time before we're gone.
Sure. I did kind of ask them what megas they wanted. And Swifty said, I want to see Mega Starmie and Phalanx. Mega Phalanx would be awesome. I want to see a Mega Pokemon where it's just 6 guys in a trench suit. I think that would be awesome. A couple of people said Mega Hydreigon. What else is there? Mega Aurorus and Mega Tyrantrum. I think I don't know if they'll do any more dragon types, but the big one, the big answer that I personally kind of vibe with the most is Mega Shuckle. I want to see Mega Shuckle so bad. I think that they could really do a lot with it. And it's something I had never thought about. But yeah, KR also commented saying around Corbeau or whatever his name is. He was like, "I'm calling that man Corpo, and no one is making me mind." I thought that was fun, and I wanted to highlight that. And the last comment I wanted to highlight before we get to our one question is from Storm, who says, kind of in response to what Apopheniac was saying, I think they should take a page out of Super Mystery Dungeon's book and make a generic power up that don't have for Pokemon that don't have a full on Mega form. I think what she is talking about is the Empowerment Seed, which allows you to Mega Evolve if your Pokemon is able to Mega Evolve, but also gives similar stat boosts if you use it on a Pokemon that doesn't have a Mega Evolution. It becomes empowered, and that would kind of like close the gap, I guess, between you know, the like having the Pokemon like being forced to pick through, you know, one of however many Pokemon that have Megas and whatnot. So yeah, that's that. The one question is also from Storm, who asks, "Do you think we're getting any new Pokemon or just new Megas?" Which I don't think we touched on at all. So I want to give that give you guys a chance.
I mean, I suspect we're only getting new Megas, but I also suspect we're going to get a bunch of Pokemon who haven't shown up for a while. Like, Furfur hasn't been. I mean, they weren't in any Switch games. The last time they showed up was Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. And I think if we looked at the lists of Pokemon who last showed up in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, we're going to find a lot of Pokemon that will be in this game. So, like, here's a horrifying thought. Imagine, let's say, oh, it'd have to be the third one, right? Your third promotion battle is against someone who has Mega Miltank and it just uses Rollout. Let the kids learn what we did in Pokemon Gold and Silver.
I'm gonna jump in really quickly. So I think we may get new evolutions, especially with the Arceus games, like the Legend games. They tend to hide some of the biggest reveals before then. I think we will get like Colossian something or other, but um, what I'd actually really like to see is I kind of want a Clodsire situation. If there's a Pokemon that evolves, I want it to be an evolution that'll stick around. And will give value to its pre-evolution. I love Paldean Wooper. I think it's one of my favorite regional forms. So the fact that they just evolved it into a giant Pokemon eclair is one of my favorite things. I wish it was a little bit more powerful, but I get that it's like, it's got to match Quagsire to a degree. But I also hope, and I don't know if this is going to happen, especially with the transition, I hope more than anything we get solid designs. Some of my favorite designs have been in recent years of vamping new Pokemon, like Hisui and Zoroark, or gosh, what are the others? Alolan Ninetales or Alolan Marowak being among my top favorite Pokemon of all time. So I hope we get good designs. I hope we get lasting designs. And I hope eventually they can be brought back. Does anyone else have any thoughts on that question?
I just had a quick thought about whether we're getting just new megas or new Pokemon, and my only thought to that question is Enamorous. Before the release of Legends Arceus, I would not have guessed that there was going to be a new what are they called? The Forces of Nature. Never would have guessed that a trio was going to get a fourth um, out of nowhere. And so I would not it would not surprise me to be surprised by a new Pokemon that we hadn't considered. Um, and Storm's comment about like a mega thing for megas for Pokemon that don't have megas. That's why I genuinely think Dynamax is a better gimmick because you're not punished for your um, favorite not having a Gigantamax. You can still Dynamax it. Those were my only thoughts.
I'll throw in real quick. I think that we could potentially get some new forms or Pokemon or evolutions, and I would like to see that. However, it's worth noting that in X and Y, we did not get a lot of Pokemon in the Pokedex because instead we got Megas, which is honestly one of the reasons I don't like Megas. So I'm hoping that they kind of right the wrong here. I'm not expecting a ton of Pokemon, but be nice to get a few more. I like regional variants, so I'd like to see more of that kind of thing.
I want to make sure we don't have any dead air at the same time. Archaic, any last thoughts on regional forms or new Pokemon? Wait, yeah, any last ones before we go?
Um, I think if we see any new forms, it's not going to be so much a regional form as it is a city form. Like, I mean, Death was talking about, like, how are we going to see these Pokemon that wouldn't work in a city environment? Well, I think the answer there is adapt them to a city environment. That they have a form that's basically not a Colosian form, but a Luminosity form. Will that happen? Probably not, but it's one way they could work around things. But I think it's more likely that we'll see returning Pokemon than brand new stuff. Like Legends Arceus, when you think about it, did not have that many brand new Pokemon, did it? Like I think something around that level is the absolute maximum that we'll get, and many of those slots will probably be taken up by new legendaries.
I think that's fair. Apopheniac, any last really quick thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a case where we're more getting new megas than probably like regional forms, but I wouldn't be surprised if they snuck a couple of new species in. Maybe we'll get some new legendaries, because Palos, I think, only has like Xerneas of Eltal, Zygarde, but then you do have like Mewtwo and then like the Kanto birds hanging around, I guess. Maybe expand on that. Maybe I don't know, throw something else in. Uh, but other than that, yeah, I think it probably will be new megas. We see mega stones on a number of the new characters, so it's probably likely that their Pokemon are gonna mega into new stuff like Arbok and Starmie and Scrafty.
All right. So, we have our last outro question with Apopheniac. I'm going to leave this with you. Again, please remind everyone who you are, what you do with Bulbagarden. But then, because we didn't get to this question, please give us in 30 seconds or less your thoughts on Pokemon Champions.
Right. Yeah, I am Apopheniac. I am a junior admin on Bulbapedia. That's usually if you want to bother me, you can find me there or in Discord. Champions is looking pretty interesting. It does seem like they're trying to pull in some stuff from like the old battle sims, but also try to do showdown-y stuff with it. Um, there are some interesting sorts of changes. We'll have to see if those are carried over into Gen 10 or if they stick with champions. It might be that they're going doing champions because maybe they want to take Gen 10 in a different direction. Who knows? Lots of exciting stuff on the horizon now. It does free them up to not have to make the core series games, have to make all of the different carve outs and allowances for competitive play.
Archaic, please remind everyone who you are, what you do, where they can find you, and your thoughts on Pokemon Champions in 30 seconds or less.
Yep. I'm Archaic, Bulbagarden Webmaster. You can find me, well, typically these days on the Bulbagarden forums, writing up news articles, or sometimes puttering around in the Bulbagarden Discord. Champions, the fact they've got rental Pokemon gives me a little hope that there might be some kind of single-player challenges. If there's no single-player challenges, if it's all just versus, I'm probably not even playing it, to be perfectly honest. The competitive side just doesn't interest me that much. I'm sure it'll be great for those who want to play it. And having that kind of thing there does perhaps open up more directions for games in the future, because it means that the main games don't have to be battle focused, because those who want the battles can get their fill from this. But I don't know. We'll have to see how things go.
All right, Fitzy, please remind everyone who you are, what you do, where they can find you, and Pokemon Champions thoughts in 30 seconds or less.
All right, let's see if I can do this. I am Fitzy. You can find me on Bulbagarden's Facebook and Instagram pages. You can also find me lurking in the Bulbagarden Discord most any time of the day. I'm really excited for Champions. I grew up on Stadium and Battle Revolution, and I'm excited for a more evergreen game of that style. A lot of people are saying it might just exist to kill Showdown, and I'm going to be honest, I'd be fine with that. There's my thoughts.
Awesome. Death, can you remind everyone who you are, where they can find you, what you do, and your thoughts on Pokemon Champions in 30 seconds or less?
I'm MAGNEDETH, former editor-in-chief of Bulbapedia. You can find me on Blue Sky at MAGNEDETH, and I stream here on Twitch also at MAGNEDETH. Usually on Wednesdays, but who knows. My thoughts on Champions are that I don't think we have enough information to go off of. It looks like kind of a playground tool where you just kind of do whatever you want. I would love it if it was going to be harkening back to Stadium days with rental Pokemon and maybe some challenges. But if they're just going to do versus stuff, then it's really just going to be a tool and a toy. And similar to Archaic, I won't be very interested. That said, if I'm very impressed that it's going to be both on console and mobile. So long and short of it, don't know a lot about it. Want to see more.
Awesome. And I am Rhodehawk, the humble host of the Bulbacast. I also do the Pokemon Masters videos on YouTube on, I believe, Sunday and Wednesdays. I do want to say we're going to have a lot of awesome casts popping up in the next few months. If you want to know more about Legends ZA, want to talk Pokemon Masters, want to talk many other games and things coming up, please sure to check us out on the last Friday of each month. That being said, I will pass it over to you, Caps.
Thanks, Rhodehawk. Just want to remind everyone who I am, where you can find me, and also what I think about Champions. I'm Caps. You can find me here on the Twitch channel, streaming every Thursday and Saturday morning. And yeah, you can also find me on Twitter, Blue Sky. All my links are in the About page. Go check me out, I guess. My thoughts on Champions. It looks really cool. I'm really disappointed that it is releasing next year. I don't see why this can't come out sooner, but I'm not a dev, so I wouldn't know. I'll probably take a look at it, maybe play it a bit. Depends on how the pay system works too. If it's a free app, I'll definitely check it out. If it's something that I have to pay a subscription for, I might not. But we'll see. But yeah, thank you, Rode, for hosting as always. Wanted to shout out a couple of streams that are going to be happening on the channel in the next couple of days. Tomorrow morning, I will be live playing some Mystery Dungeon if my Wi-Fi holds up, which it has recently, so I think we'll be okay for a nice Saturday morning stream tomorrow. If not, the next stream on the channel will be dawning tomorrow night, doing some art. And Emmy will be live on Sunday morning with more of his XY playthrough. So if you're itching for some Kalos stuff before PLZA comes out, go check him out. Show some love for him. If you want, you can check out the Bulbacast on YouTube. We're posting it tomorrow. So hi, YouTube viewers. Comment your favorite starter. I don't know. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna go and rate us out.
I might say also, there may be some impromptu Treasures of Ruin raid streams happening at times. No promises, not least because I'd have to move my Switch 2 dock downstairs to the computer to get that working. But I mean, we all need to hit the million battles to get those shiny Treasures of Ruin, so we may as well do them together.
Yeah, make sure you're doing your part, chat. I'm going to send you guys over to Agent V. It looks like they're catching 20 billion shiny Pokemon. I don't know how or why or what, but it seems cool. They're playing Scarlet and Violet on the Switch too. Go give them a shout. Say hi from Bulbagarden. You don't have to stick around. Just make sure to say hi. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate all of you jumping in with your thoughts, views, opinions, all of that. And also to the cast members, thank you for jumping on. All right. See you guys
Thanks
later.
for having us.
Bye.
Peace.
See ya.
All right, we're clear.